guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're anything like me, you're a broke ass bitch. So, being able to watch horror movies for free is a blessing, and that is one of the major reasons I love Tubi. This is a streaming service that has hundreds of movies, not just horror, that are all available to stream for free with ads. But don't let the commercial thing deter you, because having ads that are perfectly placed gives you time to get up and go to the bathroom, check your phone, do whatever. It gives you a nice little break that you need. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the horror movies on Tubi you need to watch before they're gone. Let's get into it, shall we? I'm going to be breaking this up into different categories to make this easier for you, and I'll place timestamps so that you can easily go to whichever category you like. So first up is classics and cult classics. Movies that I consider to be classics. First is The Exorcist, the William Friedkin classic horror about a young girl possessed by the devil. Next is The Exorcist III. The third installment in the Exorcist franchise centers on a police detective investigating a series of murders with the same signature used by the Gemini killer who was executed 15 years before. This one has one of the most terrifying jump scares in all of cinematic history, and also, it was Jeffrey Dahmer's favorite movie. Just saying. Then we have A Nightmare on Elm Street, the Wes Craven 80s slasher that introduced us to Freddy Krueger, the knives for fingers serial killer who kills teens in their sleep. My dude Freddy. I mean, I believe that all of the A Nightmare on Elm Street movies are actually on Tubi, but I'm only going to recommend a few. But feel free to watch as many as you want. I just don't feel like recommending them all. Then we have A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, the third installment in the Nightmare franchise, centers around a group of teens at a mental health facility who realize that they can fight Freddy in their dreams. Then we have Aliens. This follows a space crew who stumble upon an abandoned ship and encounter an alien species. Next is Leprechaun. A group of people are stalked by a mythical creature who wants his gold. Next is Poltergeist. The film focuses on a suburban family whose home is invaded by malevolent ghosts that abduct their daughter. Next is The Fly. A brilliant but eccentric scientist begins to transform into a giant man-fly hybrid after one of his experiences goes horribly wrong. This one is gross, but it's more sad than gross to me, and I am so glad that I watched it, and I think it's a really messed up love story. Next is Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1978. The plot involves a San Francisco health inspector and his colleague who, over the course of a few days, discover that humans are being replaced by alien duplicates. Next is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The film follows a group of friends who fall victim to a family of cannibals while on their way to visit an old homestead. Next is Hellraiser. A woman discovers the newly resurrected, partially formed body of her brother-in-law, who she's sleeping with. She starts killing for him to revitalize his body and suck his dick. Is that what she does? I don't really actually know if she sucks his dick. Next is Sleepaway Camp, the story of a young girl sent to a summer camp that becomes the site of a series of murders shortly after her arrival. Next is the Slumber Party Massacre. This is the feminine horror classic about a group of girls who are stalked by a drill-wielding maniac during their summer party. Next is House on Haunted Hill, the original. This is centered around an eccentric millionaire who invites several strangers to his wife's birthday and offers them money if they can last the night. Next is Re-animator. After an odd new medical student arrives on campus, a dedicated local and his girlfriend become involved in a bizarre experiments centering around the reanimation of dead tissue. Next is Children of the Corn. Based on the Stephen King's short story, this centers around a couple who stumble into town that is overrun by psychotic children that have killed all the adults in town. Suspiria. A young woman begins to realize that the dance school she's studying has very dark, witchy secrets. Night of the Living Dead. A classic isolation story about a group of people who seek shelter in an abandoned farmhouse when the dead begin coming back to life. Next, Tourist Trap. A group of friends' car breaks down and they seek shelter at a nearby tourist trap run by a maniac with an obsession for mannequins. The next category I'm going to be talking about are remakes. Now, I happen to love remakes because they can be done well, and these ones were done well. First is The Crazies. This remake of the George Romero classic is about a town that is infected with a rage virus and the survivors who are trying to escape. Next, The Hills Have Eyes. This centers around a family whose RV breaks down in the middle of the desert where they become prey to a crazy mutant family. Next, Night of the Demons. This is a fun Halloween romp about a group of friends who summon demons at a funeral home. Next category is killers. Next is Wes Craven's New Nightmare. This meta entry in the Nightmare on Elm Street series follows actress Heather Langenkamp as she begins being terrorized by Freddy Krueger in real life. Next is House of a Thousand Corpses. A group of friends find themselves at the home of the deranged Firefly family on Halloween, and they learn that they're not so nice. Then we have The Devil's Rejects. This is the follow-up to House of a Thousand Corpses, and this one focuses on the Firefly family while they're on the run from the police. Next is Wolf Creek. This follows 3 backpackers who encounter a murderous maniac while in the outback. Next, We Are What We Are. This centers around a family with a very specific diet that involves consuming human flesh. Next, I Saw the Devil. This follows a man who embarks on a quest of revenge when his fiancée is brutally murdered by the psychopathic serial killer. Next, Open 24 Hours. After setting her serial killer boyfriend on fire, a paranoid delusional woman gets a job at an all-night gas station where things go very wrong. This one is surprisingly fun and good, and I feel like some people might overlook it, especially when you see the cover art, but I think it's really enjoyable, and the lead actress is pretty great. Next category is the supernatural, my favorite category. First, we have Sinister. This centers around a writer who moves his family into the home where an infamous murder happened so that he can research the case for his next book. He soon finds himself a part of the mystery. Next, Ghost Ship. A boat salvage crew is recruited to investigate a mysteriously abandoned cruise liner, and they soon realize it's filled with ghosts. The Sixth Sense follows a young boy who can see dead people. Stir of Echoes. A skeptic man begins experiencing strange paranormal activity after he allows his sister-in-law to put him under hypnosis. Next, The Changeling. A grieving musician moves into a creepy old mansion after the tragic loss of his wife and daughter, and he quickly learns the home is haunted by the ghost of a young boy. Next, we have The Innkeepers. This centers around 2 hotel clerks who decide to investigate the place for ghosts, and they find them. The Wailing. This haunting tale focuses on a village who link a series of brutal murders to the arrival of a mysterious stranger. We Are Still Here. This follows a family who move into a haunted home that requires a sacrifice every 30 years. Next is Bubba Hotep. This sad, funny film focuses on 2 elderly men in a nursing home who must defeat an ancient mummy and save the world. Next is Bones. Over 20 years after his death by a gunshot, Jimmy Bones comes back as a ghost to wreak revenge on those who killed him and to clean up his neighborhood. Next category is another favorite of mine, and that is travel nightmares. There is nothing worse than traveling on vacation expecting to have a good old time and it turning into a nightmare. First is Touristas. This centers around a group of tourists in Brazil who stumble upon an organ harvesting ring. Next is Train to Busan. This zombie movie will make you cry. It follows a father who is bringing his daughter home to her mother via train when a zombie outbreak happens. This is an emotional, fast-paced, and unique take on the genre, and it's filled with a lot of heart. Next is Eden Lake. A romantic weekend getaway for a couple turns into a horrific nightmare when they become prey to a group of violent teens. This movie is really dark and hard to watch, but I think it has a really interesting commentary on nature versus nurture and how kids learn a lot from their parents and their parents' actions. Next is Triangle. This trippy flick follows a group of people who become shipwrecked and then seek help on a ship nearby, which turns out to be pretty weird. Next is Honeymoon. A couple's honeymoon turns into a nightmare when one of them begins exhibiting a strange behavior. Next is Spring. A young man's backpacking trip turns into something monstrous when he meets a beautiful stranger with a dark secret. Next, Dead End. A family's drive to a Christmas dinner becomes a nightmare when they take a detour down a haunted road. Frozen. Not your Disney's Frozen. A group of friends find themselves fighting for survival when they get stranded on a snow lift in the middle of winter. The next category, I'm titling it The Devil Made Me Do It. There's a lot of religious, culty, and devilish things that occur in all of these movies. First up is The Ninth Gate. A rare book collector finds his life in danger after he finds a sacred text supposedly written by the devil. The Invitation. A man is invited to a weird dinner party by his ex and her charming new boyfriend who has sinister plans in store for them. Last Shift. After a rookie cop is assigned to the last shift at a transitioning police station, she must wait for a hazardous materials crew to pick up biomedical evidence. However, her shift turns into a living nightmare. The Void. This Lovecraftian horror revolves around a police officer who becomes trapped by cloaked cult-like figures inside a hospital that is a gateway to hell. The Lords of Salem. When a radio DJ plays a mysterious vinyl record on air from an unknown band called The Lords, it unleashes an evil within the town. The next category is creature features. Bait. This is a fun shark movie about a group of people who survive a tsunami while seeking shelter in a grocery store, but unfortunately for them, some sharks get into the grocery store and then begin attacking them. Next is Pumpkinhead. A grieving father summons an evil entity to get revenge. The creature in this is just so incredibly done. He's terrifying. The story itself is really heartbreaking, and it's just an overall fun, sad, emotional watch. Howl. Also a travel nightmare. This one follows passengers on a train who become target of a werewolf. Ginger Snaps. This film centers around two sisters whose lives are completely changed after one of them becomes bitten by a werewolf. Next is Late Phases. A secluded retirement community is plagued by mysterious and deadly attacks until a grizzled war veteran moves in, rallies the residents, and discovers a beast is behind the killings. Next is Willow Creek. A filmmaker and his girlfriend are investigating the existence of Bigfoot when they find themselves under attack by the creature. Next is Stakeland. The apocalyptic vampire film follows a man and a young orphan as they navigate the treacherous new world in search of a safe haven. The next category is another personal favorite of mine, and that is found footage. Might not be for everybody, but why not? Why not? What's your problem with found footage? It's here to stay. First up is The Taking of Deborah Logan. This movie is terrifying. Has some of the most terrifying imagery I have ever seen. This centers around a film crew who are documenting a woman's dementia, basically, and they learn that there's a little bit more going on. Next, we have Grave Encounters, and it centers on a film crew who go into a hospital to investigate paranormal activity, and they get more than they bargained for. It's a trippy, wild ride. Next is VHS. Four thugs who make money putting their violent antics online are hired to steal a VHS tape from a spooky old house. However, things take a turn for the worse when they find a dead prisoner and a dozen more tapes. Hell House LLC. This story centers around a group of people who buy a haunted house and renovate it to turn it into a haunted attraction. Next is the Poughkeepsie tapes. New York homicide investigators find hundreds of videotapes of torture, murder, and dismemberment showcasing a serial killer's work over the decades. I don't personally like this one because I think it's too dark and mean, but it might be for you. Next, we have Diary of the Dead. This is essentially a reboot of George Romero's Living Dead series. It brings it back to where it all started, and it centers on a group of college filmmakers who are making a horror movie when a zombie outbreak happens. Lake Mungo. This is a super sad, depressing watch about a family who is reminiscing about their daughter, their late daughter, who mysteriously died, and discussing the paranormal events surrounding her death. Next is the lost footage of Leah Sullivan. This is a film about a student filmmaker who returns to her town to investigate an infamous series of local murders for her college project. Next is Gondrum Haunted Asylum. This centers around a film crew who travel to an abandoned asylum for a live podcast and soon get more than they bargained for. Then we have The Sacrament. The Sacrament follows a news team who trails a man as he travels into the world of Eden Parish to find his missing sister, where it becomes apparent that paradise might not be all as it seems. In the final category I'm going to be talking about is what I like to call Ladies' Night, or female-centered horror movies. First up is Teeth. Dawn is an active member of her high school chastity club, but when she meets Toby, nature takes its course and the pair answer the call. They have sex. They suddenly learn she's a living example of the vagina dentata myth. When the encounter takes a grisly turn, her vagina has teeth. I wish all of our vaginas had teeth and we could just use it on command when we needed to. That would make life so much better. Then we have Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. This is a really fun adventure in the Elvira world, basically. So this story follows Elvira, who moves into a small-knit community to accept an inheritance, and she becomes the talk of the town. I really love this one. I think it's super campy and fun and lighthearted, and Elvira is just so charming. Next up is American Mary. Medical student Mary Mason is lured into the world of performing freakish surgeries to earn money for school. Next is audition. A widowed man holds a series of fake auditions to meet his next girlfriend, and he finds the perfect girl. However, he soon realizes that she's not exactly who she appears to be on the surface. She's a little insane, and she likes piano wire. Might not want to cross her. Just saying. And also, maybe you shouldn't hold a fake audition to meet your girlfriend. False pretenses, they're never a good way to start your relationship. Next is Lovely Molly. This movie is dark. A supernatural presence menaces a newlywed couple after they move into the wife's long-abandoned childhood home. Next, we have Sorority Row. This is a fun, stupid, sleazy remake about a group of sorority girls who accidentally kill one of their classmates, and then they begin getting killed off one by one. Then we have Black Christmas, the Christmas horror classic about a sorority that is stalked by a man who has a liking for making prank phone calls. Profane phone calls. Then we have Martyrs. Two young women who were both victims of abuse as children embark on a bloody quest for revenge, only to find themselves plunged into a living hell of depravity. This movie is not easy to watch. It is super bleak and disturbing, but a lot of people love it, and I figured I'd include it on the list for them. Whew. And there you have it. That is a very extensive list of Tubi horror movies to watch right now before they're gone, and I'm filming this on Saturday, January 15th, so they might be gone by the time I get this up, and I'm sorry if that's the case, but I just talked for a very long time, so I hope you find this video useful, and I hope you give Tubi a chance if you haven't, because it is honestly, I cannot stress this enough, it is one of the best streaming services out there. I mean, Netflix just raised their prices again, and they don't even have a good selection of horror movies, or movies in general, but Tubi has so much selection. They have like top tier horror, mediocre horror, shit horror, like everything you need. It almost feels like you're going back to the video store. So I highly recommend it. Don't be a bitch about the commercials, because that's really not that bad. There's some incredibly good movies on here. So there you have it. Please let me know what movies on this list you like most. If there's any movies that you think I missed that deserve to be on here, please hit that subscribe button if you want to see more lists like this from me, and hit the like button if you liked it. Comment down below, let me know your thoughts. I'll leave all my social links down below so we can connect on there and talk about more spooky stuff. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. I will catch you next time. Bye.